Tut, chosen one. You never expected what comes next. This is the final stage. What if everything you've survived so far wasn't the hard part? What if it was just the preparation? Have you ever felt like your life was building towards something, but you had no idea what? Like every closed door, every heartbreak, every version of you that had to fall apart was quietly arranging itself into a shape you couldn't see yet. Think about a moment in your life that felt like it broke you completely. A relationship that ended without warning. A job you lost that you thought defined you. A version of your future that quietly died, and nobody sent flowers for it. At the time, it probably felt like the worst thing that had ever happened to you. But have you looked back at that moment recently, really looked at it? Because if you have, you might have noticed something strange. That the very thing that felt like it was ending you was actually the thing that started you. It cracked something open that needed to be cracked open. It removed something that was never going to take you where you actually needed to go. What if I told you that the exhaustion you feel right now isn't a sign that you failed? It's a sign that you're almost there. That the hardest, strangest, most disorienting part of your entire journey is the part right before it finally makes sense. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to walk you through isn't going to feel like another motivational video. It's going to feel like someone finally describing your life back to you. And by the end, you're going to understand exactly why this stage feels the way it does. And why it had to. Peen, you're carrying right now, cut to a dim bedroom, early morning light barely breaking through closed curtains. A figure lies awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, unmoving. The only sound is a slow, distant clock ticking. You're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Not the ordinary kind of tired. The kind that sits behind your eyes even after a full night's rest. The kind that makes you question whether all the work you've put into becoming a better version of yourself has actually gone anywhere. Maybe you've noticed it in small moments. Sitting in your car in a parking lot, not ready to go inside yet, just breathing. Lying awake at 2 a.m. running through everything you've already survived, wondering why survival hasn't felt like enough. Scrolling through your phone, looking at people whose lives seem to have already clicked into place, wondering what they know that you don't. You've healed things. You've let go of people who hurt you. You've done the inner work nobody saw and nobody clapped for. The quiet, unglamorous work of choosing yourself in moments where nobody would have known if you hadn't. And still, some mornings, you wake up wondering, is this it? Is this really what it looks like on the other side of everything I've been through? Nobody warned you that the space right before transformation would feel this quiet, this uncertain, almost like nothing is happening at all, even though everything is. The bedroom light slowly brightens, curtain moved slightly by a breeze, a single ray of sunlight cutting across the dark room like a warning or a promise. Have you been mistaking this silence for failure, when it might actually be the sound of something finally about to shift? Why the hardest part always comes right before the breakthrough. A hooded figure, walking against a violent storm, cloak whipping in the wind, lightning cracking across a black sky. Every step looks like a struggle. Camera low angle, looking up at him, making the storm feel enormous. Think about anything meaningful you've ever built or become. There was always a point, right near the end, where it felt heaviest. Where quitting seemed smarter than continuing. Where the distance left to travel felt longer than the distance you'd already covered, even though the opposite was true. Think about a marathon runner at mile 22. Legs shaking, lungs burning, every part of their body screaming to stop. Not because they haven't made progress, but because they've made so much progress that their body is finally starting to feel the true cost of it. That's not the moment they're failing. That's the moment they're closest to crossing the line. The storm suddenly thins. A crack of golden light appears on the horizon ahead of him. He stops walking, breathing hard, staring at it. This isn't coincidence, it's pattern. The final stretch of any real transformation always asks the most of you, because it's testing whether you're going to carry the old version of yourself across the finish line or finally leave it behind on the road where it belongs. If you're in the hardest part of your life right now, that might not mean you're far from where you're going. It might mean you're closer than you've ever been, closer than you can currently see, closer than your exhaustion is allowing you to believe. Extreme close-up on his glowing eyes beneath the hood, unmoving, locked onto the light ahead. If that thought just gave you a small sense of relief, stay with me, because subscribing now means you won't miss what comes next in this series. And there's a lot more waiting to be said. The moment you stop, recognizing your old Lithia quiet, dim living room. A phone sits face down on a table, screen dark. A cup of coffee untouched, gone cold. Dust floats in a single beam of light. Nobody is in the frame, just the residue of a life. Have you noticed that some of the things that used to excite you don't anymore? People you used to call for everything, you don't reach for the same way. Places that used to feel comfortable now feel slightly too small, like a room you've outgrown but haven't left yet. Maybe it's a group chat you used to check constantly, and now you go days without opening it. Maybe it's a favorite coffee shop, an old routine, a version of your weekend that used to feel like home, and now it just feels like a photograph of someone you used to be. Worn at the edges, familiar, but no longer quite yours. The same room later. A window is now open, curtains moving gently in a breeze. Warm light fills the space that was dark before. Subtle transformation, no explanation given. This isn't ingratitude. It isn't you becoming cold or distant. It's what happens when a person is quietly outgrowing a version of life that no longer matches who they're becoming. Nobody sends you a notification when this happens. There's no ceremony. You simply wake up one day and realize the coat doesn't fit anymore. It's disorienting because nothing dramatic happened. No single event explains it. You simply became someone new, gradually. In 1,000 invisible moments, nobody was there to witness. And now the old life fits like a coat, 2 sizes too small, tight across the shoulders, in places it never used to be. Wide shot, the hooded figure standing at a literal fork in a foggy road. One path fades into darkness. The other path is faintly lit, though the destination is still unclear. What have you outgrown recently that you haven't fully admitted to yourself yet? Why you keep getting tested right when you think you've arrived, just when you think you've finally found peace? Something shows up to challenge it. An old wound resurfaces without warning. A relationship gets tested in a way you didn't see coming. A fear you thought you'd already buried comes back, wearing a slightly different face, standing in a slightly different doorway. But somehow, unmistakably, the same fear. It's tempting to see this as proof that nothing has really changed in you, that all the healing was fake, all the growth was an illusion you told yourself to feel better. But growth doesn't work in a straight line. It circles back again and again, each time asking you to respond from a slightly stronger place than the last time it showed up at your door. The gate finally shatters, but instead of darkness pouring through, a wave of golden light spills out, illuminating the figure's face fully. For the first time in the video, the test isn't there to prove you haven't grown. It's there to prove that you have, by giving you the exact same doorway, the exact same darkness, and watching whether you walk through it differently this time. Have you noticed yourself handling an old struggle with more calm than you used to, even if some part of you still expected to fall apart the way you once did? The loneliness that comes right before lightning scene. A vast, empty plain at dusk. The hooded figure stands alone, wind moving slowly through tall grass. No other figures in sight. The silence is held a beat longer than feels comfortable. There's a particular kind of loneliness that shows up right before your life realigns with who you're becoming. It's the loneliness of being between chapters. No longer who you were, not yet fully who you're going to be. It's standing in a hallway with no doors, just waiting for one to appear. People around you might not understand this stage. They might miss the old version of you, the one who was easier to predict, easier to keep in a familiar box, easier to reach without effort. Meanwhile, you're standing in a kind of in-between space, unsure who's even going to recognize you on the other side of this transformation. In the far distance, a single faint light flickers on the horizon. Small, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. This loneliness isn't punishment. It's the quiet architecture of change, built without your permission, holding you in place just long enough for the right people, the right chapter, to finally catch up to who you've already become. Have you been feeling distant from people who used to understand you completely, without knowing exactly why, and wondering if that distance means something is wrong with you, instead of something finally being right? Why your patience is being tested more than ever close up on an hourglass, sand falling impossibly slow, almost frozen in place. Cut to the hooded figure gripping a staff tightly, knuckles tense, waiting in silence. Everything in you wants this next chapter to hurry up and arrive. You've done the work. You've earned the shift. So why does it feel like you're still standing exactly where you were 6 months ago, watching everyone else's life move forward while yours holds its breath? Here's something worth sitting with, even if it's uncomfortable. The version of you capable of holding what's coming had to be built first, quietly, without applause, in exactly this kind of waiting. If everything you wanted arrived the moment you wanted it, you might not yet have the strength, the wisdom, or the steadiness to actually keep it once it came. The hourglass suddenly flips on its own. Sand now falling fast, urgent. The figure's eyes snap open beneath the hood, alert. This waiting period isn't punishment for impatience. It's preparation disguised as delay. It's giving you exactly the time you need to become someone capable of carrying what's about to be handed to you. Because some things, once they arrive, don't wait around for you to catch up. Do you trust that this waiting has a purpose, even in the moments when every part of you is demanding proof that it does? If this is starting to feel like your own life is being read back to you, subscribe now, because the next few sections dig even deeper into what's actually happening beneath the surface of this stage. The fear that shows up right before something good scene. A single door stands alone in an empty black void, faint light glowing from underneath it. The hooded figure approaches slowly, hand outstretched, hesitating just before touching the handle. Isn't it strange how fear often gets louder right before something good is about to happen? Right when an opportunity finally appears, a small voice starts listing every reason it might not work out. Right when a relationship starts to feel genuinely safe, an old wound starts whispering that it's too good to be true. This isn't your intuition warning you away from danger. This is an old, outdated version of you, trying to protect you from disappointment. By keeping you small and cautious, the way it always has. The way it learned to a long time ago, back when caution was the only thing that kept you safe. The figure's hand trembles slightly near the handle. Behind him, faint, shadowy echoes of his past selves flicker in and out, reaching toward him, trying to pull him back. You don't have to obey that voice anymore. You're allowed to walk towards something good, even while your nervous system is still catching up to the idea that good things are actually allowed to happen to you. Have you noticed fear getting louder right before something in your life started to genuinely improve? Almost like it was trying to stop you right at the edge of something real. Why everything you've lost had to be lost a wide, desolate battlefield at dawn. Broken chains lie scattered across the ground, half buried in ash. The hooded figure walks slowly through them, untouched, as faint whispers echo in the wind. Voices of people, places, and versions of a life that no longer exist look back at every ending you've grieved. Every relationship that fell apart. Every plan that collapsed right when you thought it was finally coming together. At the time, each of those losses probably felt like proof that something was wrong with your life, or with you. But consider this instead. Every one of those endings cleared space. Every person who left made room for someone who was actually meant to stay. Every plan that fell apart protected you from a future that wasn't actually built for who you were becoming. A future that would have kept you comfortable, but never fully alive. One of the broken chains on the ground begins to glow faintly, then dissolves into light, drifting upward like ash turning to fireflies. You weren't unlucky. You were being redirected over and over by losses that hurt exactly as much as they needed to, in order to move you towards something your old plans could never have reached on their own. What loss in your life might have actually been protection disguised as heartbreak? The moment you realize you've become unrecognizable. A cracked, ancient mirror stands alone in a dark stone room. The hooded figure approaches it slowly. His reflection doesn't match him exactly. It moves half a second behind, as if catching up to who he's already become. There comes a strange, quiet moment in this final stage where you catch a glimpse of yourself. In a conversation, in a decision, in how calmly you handled something that would have destroyed you years ago. And you barely recognize the person looking back, not because you've become someone fake or performative, because you've finally become the version of yourself that all that difficulty was quietly building the whole time. One invisible layer at a time, without ever asking for your permission. The reflection in the mirror finally catches up, syncing perfectly with his movement. For the first time, the hood falls back slightly, revealing calm, steady eyes, no longer glowing with tension, just quiet certainty. That moment of not recognizing yourself isn't confusion. It's confirmation. It means the work actually worked, even when it didn't feel like it was working at all. Has there been a moment recently where you surprised yourself with how much you've actually changed? Where you responded to something hard in a way the old you never could have? Why this stage feels like standing at the edge of something. The figure stands at the literal edge of a cliff, black void stretching endlessly below, wind pulling at his cloak. Above him, storm clouds begin to part, revealing a faint, distant light breaking through. Right now, you might feel like you're standing at an edge, like something is about to shift, but you can't quite name what or when. That specific feeling, equal parts anticipation and unease, is the exact feeling that shows up right before a major turning point. It's uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. You've never been this version of yourself before, standing at this exact edge, about to step into a chapter that nothing in your past experience can fully prepare you for. A single beam of light cuts through the void below, revealing solid, hidden ground that was always there. The edge was never actually as dangerous as it looked, but that discomfort is not a warning to turn back. It's the sensation of standing exactly where you're supposed to be standing, right before everything changes. Does it feel like you're standing at the edge of something right now, even if you can't name exactly what it is? If you're ready to actually step into whatever is waiting on the other side of that edge, subscribe now, because what's coming next is going to help you take that step with real clarity. The final stage isn't the end. It's the handoff. A long stone bridge stretches across a dark chasm, mist rising from below. The hooded figure stands at one end. At the far end, barely visible through the fog, stands a second silhouette, unmistakably him, but standing taller, steadier, calmer. Here's the truth this stage has been quietly building toward. The final stage isn't actually an ending. It's a handoff. It's the moment where the version of you who survived everything finally passes the story forward to the version of you who gets to actually live it. Everything you endured, everything you healed, everything that felt unbearably slow, all of it was building the person standing here right now, capable of finally receiving what's coming next. Think of every hard year like a relay runner passing a baton. The runner doesn't stop being part of the race just because someone else picks it up next. They're the reason the race continues at all. The two silhouettes begin walking toward each other across the bridge, fog parting slightly with each step, revealing more of the path than either of them could see before. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly on time for a moment that was always going to require every single thing you've been through to reach it. What would it feel like to finally trust that you've arrived exactly when you were supposed to? Why you keep feeling like something is about to happen. Interior of a quiet room at night. A window rattles slightly from wind outside, though the air is still. A candle flickers without an obvious draft causing it. Small, unexplainable signs of change stirring just beneath the surface. Have you noticed a strange, low-grade anticipation lately? A feeling that something is shifting, even though your daily life looks almost exactly the same as it did last month. You check your phone a little more. You feel unusually alert, like you're waiting for a call that hasn't come yet. This feeling isn't anxiety, even though it can feel similar. Anxiety braces for something bad. This feeling is different. It's your own awareness picking up on shifts happening underneath the surface of your life, long before those shifts become visible on the outside. Your circumstances haven't caught up yet, but some part of you already knows they're about to. The candle flame suddenly grows taller and steadier, no longer flickering, as if something in the room has settled into place. People rarely talk about this stage because it doesn't look like anything from the outside. There's no big visible event to point to, just a quiet hum underneath everything, like the moment right before a phone rings, when you already somehow know who's calling. Have you felt that low hum of anticipation lately, without being able to explain exactly why? Why you've started protecting your peace more fiercely seen? The hooded figure stands in front of a group of shadowy figures reaching toward him, pulling at his cloak. Instead of following them like before, he simply steps back, calm, unmoved, and the shadow hands dissolve into smoke. Have you noticed yourself pulling away from conversations that used to pull you in for hours? Saying no to things you would have said yes to a year ago, not out of bitterness, but out of a new, quiet unwillingness to hand your energy over to things that don't actually deserve it. This isn't you becoming harsh or unavailable. It's you finally recognizing the difference between connection and drain, between people who add to your life and people who simply take from it while calling it friendship. That recognition doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, after enough experience finally teaches you what your gut was trying to tell you all along. The space around the figure grows quieter, calmer, the smoke fully dissolving. He exhales, shoulders visibly relaxing for the first time in the video. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's what allows you to actually have something left to give to the people and the future that are genuinely worth it. Where in your life have you started protecting your energy more fiercely than you used to, even if it surprised the people around you? If you're recognizing more of yourself in these questions than you expected, subscribe now. The next section is going to go even deeper into what's waiting for you on the other side of all this. Why the people meet for your next chapter haven't arrived, yet the hooded figure stands at a crossroads in thick fog. In the far distance, faint silhouettes of other figures stand motionless, waiting, though none of them move toward each other yet. Have you wondered why certain people haven't shown up in your life yet? The friendships, the love, the mentors who are supposed to understand you at this next level. It's tempting to assume you did something wrong, or that you're simply meant to do this alone. But consider this instead. Some people can only enter your life once you've actually become the version of yourself capable of receiving them. If they arrived too early, before you'd finished becoming who you needed to be, you might have missed them completely, or worse, mistaken them for something they weren't. The fog thins slightly. One of the distant silhouettes takes a single step forward, still far away, but undeniably closer than before. This isn't about being punished with delay. It's about timing that protects both of you, them and you, from meeting each other before either of you were ready for what that meeting was going to require. Who do you think is still on their way to you, waiting for the same timing you are? Why this version of you deserves to stop apologizing the hooded figure kneeling in front of a cracked stone tablet covered in old, worn engravings. Faint words fading with age, half erased by time. He places his hand over them, and they slowly begin to glow, replaced by new, clearer markings. Somewhere along the way, you learned to apologize for things that were never actually wrong, for needing space, for outgrowing people, for wanting more than what you were told to settle for finally choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else first. That apology reflex isn't politeness. It's an old survival habit, built in a time when taking up space felt dangerous, when wanting things loudly felt like it might cost you the people you needed. But you're not in that season anymore, even if some part of you hasn't fully believed it yet. The new markings on the tablet form a single glowing symbol, simple and unmistakable, before the whole tablet slowly crumbles into light, freeing whatever it had been holding in place. You are allowed to stop shrinking your voice to make other people comfortable. You are allowed to want more, to ask for more, become more, without translating it into an apology first. What have you been quietly apologizing for that never actually needed an apology in the first place? The final truth: you were never late. You were never lost. Wide, sweeping shot. The fog fully clears. The hooded figure stands at the center of an enormous open valley bathed in golden morning light. The storm from earlier completely gone. The sky calm and endless. Here's the truth underneath everything this video has been circling. You were never late. You were never behind some invisible schedule. Everyone else seemed to understand except you. You were never lost. Even during the years it felt exactly like that. Every hard year, every ending, every stretch of silence where nothing seemed to be happening, all of it was quietly, invisibly building toward this exact moment. The moment where you finally stop fighting your own timeline and start trusting it instead. The figure slowly lowers his hood completely, for the first time in the entire video, revealing calm, steady, human eyes no longer glowing, no longer hidden. Simply present, you are not who you were when this chapter started, and you are not yet who you're about to become. You are standing, right now, exactly in the doorway between both of them. What would change in your life if you finally believed you were never behind at all? The figure walks forward into the golden light, his silhouette slowly dissolving into it, not as an ending, but as a beginning, the light expanding to fill the entire screen. If something in this video reached you, if even one line made you feel like someone finally understood exactly where you are in your life right now, that recognition wasn't an accident. Some part of you already knew everything I just said. You just needed someone to finally say it out loud. You are allowed to stop waiting for permission to become who you're becoming. You are allowed to trust the quiet, uncertain space you're standing in right now, even without knowing exactly what comes next. If you're ready to keep going deeper, if you want more of these moments where your own life finally gets put into words, subscribe to this channel. This is a place for people who are done sleepwalking through their own story and ready to finally step into the next one. You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. Don't waste what it just showed you. Go become who you were always meant to be. I'll see you in the next one.